All right, I have 6 o'clock. We'll start our Port of Allyn December 13th special meeting with Pledge Allegiance. Pledge the allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I'd like to start out with an apology to my fellow commissioners. I did have a death in the family that made me miss the special meeting and made me miss the regular meeting. So we have a full agenda tonight with a lot of things that got tabled on to today. And we will plow forward with our agenda items. So purpose of today's meeting is to discuss the updates to the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements that we postponed from our October 2nd and December 4th meeting. Was that October 2nd or was that?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, boy.
I looked it up when I put the dates in here. That's how
I'll hold a public hearing on proposed updates to the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements and take testimony from the public on what they would like to see added to or deleted from the 2017 plan. Set a date for an open public house about the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements. Discuss an item tabled at the December 4th meeting, a potential management agreement with another agency. Seek public input on such an agreement with a possible decision to pursue the next step in creating such an agreement. Hear a report from Pat McCullough on the proposed trail system. Adopt a resolution concerning payroll policies. Change our date of the January meeting because it falls on a holiday. Discuss changes to the Mason County Financial Services account payable calendar. Elect 2018 Port Commission Chair and Vice Chair. The first item under old business, discuss updates to the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements. And do we have documents on that?
there is one down below. I can send you the comp scheme from last year if you don't have it.
I can print it off over here.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I can
you
email
did
it
send
to you.
us.
I have it. No, I read it. No, I've got it.
Okay.
So commissioners, under our 2017 plan, we had a list of prioritized projects that we would pursue in 2017 through 2019.
Project number 1, establish an ongoing series of classes for new entrepreneurs. We accomplished that with the agreement with EDC and the Chamber and Enterprise for Equity, and they've been conducting those classes in this room.
Are we going to continue with that in 2018?
As long as there's interest in the program, yes.
Yeah, I think it's a good program. I would like to see us advertise it a little better. I know there was just a handful of people that were coming, but
Yeah.
the people that I've talked to have said it's been worth their time coming.
Bring water and power to the Allyn Marina. That's project number 2. We have a grant application pending at the federal level to fund this. It went through RCO, but RCO was a pass through. But we have what RCO has to do is see if they think it's a viable project, and if they think it's viable, then they pass it up to the feds because this is a federally funded project, and we've made that stage. So we're at the federal level now, and Congressman Kilmer has said he will advocate for us. So, project number 3, complete the Sergeant Oyster House restoration project. We've made some progress on that, and perhaps Commissioner Scott would like to talk about that.
Well, obviously it's been slow going. We've gotten some volunteers again. We had Bob Bonnet is the guy's name that has been doing the restoration of the windows, and I've been trying to do some fundraising, on my own, but Bonnie and I have been, going down to the legislature every year to the historical caucus every year, and we're going to keep banging away at it until we get the money. Because it is going to take some money to finish. And, I haven't been real comfortable about trying to get Walter on it, a huge amount, because we have some money or not us, but North Bay Historical Society has money, money for some of the work, but not all the work. So that's kind of where we're at. And again, it's slowly going. As you see, the Tyvek has been put on to help preserve what's there so far. And again, we did get a grant for siding, but we have to get everything ready for the siding before we can go get the siding. So that's kind of where we're at, slow.
How much work do you think will be done upland before it gets moved? Do you think it'll be restored upland?
It needs to be restored upland.
So it has to be.
There might be a few things, like here's been some of it about taking out the concrete floor. And I think that might be the best thing to do, but then there's some difference of opinion about keeping it in, because it's kind of what's holding it right now, but there's a way to do that.
Sure.
So once the whole base gets restored, the thought then is we could pour in the concrete once it gets back over the water, and it'd be lighter, easier to maneuver for the movers to put it back over the water, because it does have to be pretty much completely done before it gets over.
Before it'll get moved.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So we're working on our implementation strategy with that, and we're moving along here, but we didn't expect it to be completed this year. So
Right.
we all understand it's a long-term ongoing project. Project number 4, developed a first-class destination soccer and baseball combination sports complex. Excuse me. Excuse me. I think you all know this is a project near and dear to my heart, but we're working on it. Our timeline is to begin research and planning processes in early 2017, which we've done, searching for grant funding as well as suitable sites. The site is the big question mark right now, where that would be. We need at least 20 acres, and we want it to be as close to the Kitsap County, Mason County line as possible, so we can draw teams to play there from there. There are no soccer fields between Silverdale and Shelton, so there's a built-in market there. I have reached out to some of our potential funding partners, and the reaction has been very positive. We also, at the WPPA state meeting, I made a connection with the executive director at the Port of Ridgefield, and I've tried to get with somebody from Clark County about this, who owns Luke Jensen Sports Park, which is the model for this, and he has connected me to somebody there just last week.
Oh, good.
So that's...
And that's a county park?
Yes. Yes.
And it was funded with grant money?
Yes, 100% grant money.
And then sustained by user fees?
Yes. Yes. And the user fees are generating more revenue than it takes to maintain it. So I think
Great.
that's a good sign.
That's good, yeah.
So anyway, I will continue to pursue that, but that's where we're at there. Project number 5, develop a commercial indoor light industrial park. I did have some discussions with David Overton about land. We've identified the site. The best site is being where the MTA Park and Ride is going to go, if it ever goes there, at Log Yard Road. Build it in conjunction with that. But until something happens there, we're really just kind of marking time. So I think that's a project to carry over. Develop project number 6, develop a commercial indoor and outdoor shooting range. Again, the location is the big issue there. What we need is about 20 acres that's in a, like a bowl.
Yeah, zoned.
And when we developed the plan last year, the nearest facilities were all private membership clubs, Mason County Sportsman Association, which is on leased land at the Port of Shelton's Business Park, Kitsap Rifle and Revolver Club, which has been closed now for about 2 years due to all kinds of legal issues.
Where is that located? Is that off of Seebeck Hollywood?
Yeah, on
Okay.
Seebeck Highway.
Okay.
Right next to Camp Wesley Harris.
Yeah, all right.
The one in Gig Harbor is going to close down. It's a case of the land has become more valuable than the business. So I just heard that the other day, that it's going to close down. The nearest indoor and outdoor shooting ranges open to the public are Bullseye Shooting Range at Tacoma near the Tacoma Dome, the Marksman in Puyallup, and a new one just opened about a month ago, I think, down near Ponders, between Gravelly Lake Drive and
Oh, okay.
Bridgeport Way.
Okay.
Drawing a blank.
One in Olympia.
Yeah, there is a new one in
It's a
Olympia,
club.
too. Yeah.
T Brothers.
Right.
I can get us a tour of that too if you'd like to go see it.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
That guy's a friend of mine.
But recreational shooting is just a huge industry. And, you know, according to the Sheriff's Office, last year there were 7,968 concealed weapons permits had been issued in Mason County in the past 5 years.
Wow.
That doesn't count people from Kitsap County who would use the facility or the number of gun owners without permits, which I'm sure is substantially in either place that would be customers. I think this has a lot of potential to generate substantial revenue from the port. And I had a conversation with our incoming commissioner yesterday about this. And I just asked him, what do you think about this? And he was like all over what a great idea it would be. He understands the need for it by law enforcement and just the commercial potential for competitive shooting matches. The nearest competitive shooting place is in Bend, Oregon.
No kidding.
Yeah, and they generate huge amounts of money.
What's the one up here on Highway 3, the outdoor?
That's a skeet shooting
So
club?
not a target shooting.
No.
You know, and I know with the Department of Natural Resources, there's a big hoopla about all that, trying to get DNR to designate an area so that there's
Yeah.
better safety, and they won't.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
won't because of liability, but
Well,
I think there's a
we've
need.
got to find a specific piece of property to do the big competitive shooting range. But if we were to do an indoor-outdoor one, that would really narrow down the scope of where we had to look, so.
yeah, that's true. That's good.
Project number 7, develop Sweetwater Park. We haven't done anything with this because the whole thing's been on hold the entire year. And it's still on hold, so until we hear something from the Salmon Center.
Wasn't there somebody at the Salmon Center that was
Yeah.
assigned some hours a week or a month to work on that?
I don't really know.
I thought they got an employee that was going to work on that.
I don't know. When I talked to Dana a couple weeks ago, she told me that she had talked to somebody at Department of Ecology, and they said they don't have any heartburn about it. So I just said, get us that letter, and we'll move forward. But
So is she working on that, or don't know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I haven't checked back with Dana,
Mhm.
but every time I ask Mindy about it, it's like, So I don't see that going anywhere until something else out of our control moves forward. So, and our goals and objectives, improvement of existing facilities owned by the Port of Allyn, acquisition and development of land and facilities for industrial, recreational, and other purposes compatible with our mission, support the tourist industry throughout the Port District, which we do extensively here, support retention of existing businesses and development of new businesses and light industry throughout the district. We have a start on that with those entrepreneur classes and the other things that we do. Support development of infrastructure necessary for economic development. Support activities which preserve, enhance, and protect the natural beauty and resources of North Mason. I think we do that on an ongoing basis. And develop and foster partnerships which support the mission of Allyn. Support the mission of the Port of Allyn. Excuse me.
Just Allyn, huh?
Getting ahead of myself. And we've done that with the Chamber. We've done that with the EDC. I think our relationship with the EDC is probably stronger now than it's been for a while. We've also, like Enterprise for Equity, the ones doing the entrepreneur classes, we've established a real good relationship with them. So I think we've worked on our goals and objectives pretty strongly, but as far as our projects, that's kind of where we're at with them. And I don't see this changing very much unless you all want to rearrange the priorities. This is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is the priorities that you set last year.
Mm-hmm.
The only, Commissioner Scott had brought up, are we really in a good position to be a light industry or commercial type of port when we've got Port of Bremerton to the north and Port of Shelton to the south, and that's really their main mission. I think you mentioned that our goals might be better suited as a recreational port, which is kind of what we are now.
I have to agree.
And when you talk to the Overtons, they want a shovel-ready project. Well, we're nowhere near that. So those projects that are going to go ahead up there with the MTA parking, and if the county does something up there, we're just not ready because we don't have the funding. So if I were to suggest pulling something off of here, it would definitely be the industrial park. I just don't know that that's in our 2017, 18, 19 future. And then to go along with the trail system that we've talked about in the past, maybe being a partner in that.
Okay.
It's always, how do we sustain it? Sweetwater Park, how do we sustain the ongoing maintenance, the cleanup and things like that? We don't have the answers to that yet, but do we want to see that type of thing? Do we want to partner with that? And that's the question I have for you guys, my fellow commissioners. Do we want to be in the recreational part,
Do we want to be in the industrial park business or the recreational business?
Yeah.
I think that's
I don't think we're going to be able to do both with the
I think
current
that's the
funding
question we
stream
need
that
to
we
answer.
have. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that up, Scott,
Yeah.
because that question that person said, why would we compete when it's already there? And really, they're right. And with the Tahuya Forest, there are people that travel hours to get to this forest, even. So we have a tourism already, active people, and of course, if we do the trail system, it'll be a really good place to live,
To state parks,
Yeah, true. That's right.
bodies of water.
I forgot, was I talking to you maybe, Pat? I'm not sure who I was talking to, but about trying to get businesses here too. They have to make sure that they have good reasons for here. I know that we do need good places to live. That's really important for businesses to come in and locate. It's not everything, but it does have a big impact. We do have infrastructure, which is good in town, but anyway.
Safe neighborhoods, good schools, good
Yeah.
infrastructure. And if we can partner in that, recreation, if we can partner in that, I think that's a better direction for us with our current funding, our abilities.
I agree.
And
I would have to agree too.
Well, we need input, of course, from everybody, but I think that's a
what the
good.
public hearing's for.
Yeah, that's right. So I think that might be a good idea, because that light industrial park, ever since I came on in 2000, I was trying to get something, and the biggest reason, my motive, was to make sure that people understood the Port of Allyn is a big district, just to bring a connection. It's not just Allyn, it's Belfair, you know, it's the Tri-Lake area. It's a big district. And that was my whole point. So, you know, if we were to get the soccer field up there or, you know, something to bring it all together. It's kind of like the Port of Bremerton. They own the Port Orchard Marina, but everybody pretty much knows that. So it's, you know, it is just education, but a presence. So,
Boat launch.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So there we
well,
go.
I will take the industrial park off the plan, and
Yeah, unless somebody else has
Yeah.
some heartburn
No, but
over
I
it,
mean,
you
I
know,
guess
but we can talk
let's-
about
that
it.
would be the recommendation, and
and maybe add the trail project to it.
just get some public comment on deletion and adding of the trails. I think the trails is a project that's worthwhile for us. It's in our mission.
Well, in our district, you know, that's
It's all in
one
our
thing.
district.
Yeah.
And I know that people use the Feller a lot. You know, there's a lot of recreation
Well, you know,
opportunities here.
I think that this is an observation from somebody that doesn't live here. There's a lot of duplication of effort for things here. And I think rather than us try to do what other people are doing, what we need to do is do something that is different and stands out for us.
Mhm.
So that's-
Have a niche.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I, you know, the sports park is definitely it, but boy, what a dream that is.
Hey, I'm on it.
I know you are.
I'll get 'em on.
I think that one would be viable.
And I've discussed with you all a plan to approach a particular business person about, you know, buying the land for us, so. And
You know, if,
I
say
want
when,
to put together a little prospectus to show before I sit down with them, so.
oh, good, okay.
you know.
But I think everything else in our, I mean, it's all kind of, you know, we should always be on the lookout for saltwater frontage, opportunities for recreation on the waterfront. You know, of course, we have to maintain our existing facilities and improve on them as we can.
Make them accessible.
Yeah.
Our facilities are in good shape
They
right
are,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is in, you know, from a maintenance and, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for here, but, you know, from the standpoint of them being in good condition, everything working, everything fixed, you know, not needing anything and not needing any kind of repair or maintenance in the foreseeable future other than routine things, we're in great shape.
That's good, yay,
And we've done a lot.
yeah.
We have.
You know, we spent a lot of 2015 and part of 2016 doing that,
Mhm.
but it's done. So everything's in great shape now.
That's good,
You know,
thank you.
occasionally we gotta grade the parking lot here and the one out at the North Shore, but that's about all we have for ongoing stuff and replacing light bulbs and things.
Yeah, that's great.
The Santa cans.
Yeah.
Under tourism, we talk about increasing our supported activities. You know, Richard Bell was here and he talks about the permanent stage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that a permanent stage is what would do this for us, but some second structure on the property somewhere. You know, so we could have music in the park, we could have events in the park, and right now we're having a handful. But you know, could we be full every weekend doing something and promoting people coming here
Right.
and spending their money here and someday staying here?
Well, I think a good permanent stage, built right, would
If it
get a
could-
lot of use.
If it could be a dual purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
You
thinking
gotta make it
a
a-
second gazebo,
Yeah.
that maybe you know, kind of gazebo's our theme and yes,
Comment, Minnie's working on a little amphitheater up.
right, yeah.
Hey, just for a point of order, why don't you open the public hearing?
Well, I want to finish this up first and then
Oh,
we'll open
okay.
it up. And now I want to do the public hearing in order too, so.
Okay, because I was gonna say then everybody
Yeah.
can comment and well,
So let's just move on here.
sorry.
So yeah, as far as tourism goes, I think that we revisit, because Richard Bell says that the Allyn Community Association has some funds for it. I don't think it would be enough funds, but something that we could partner with them, and of course, you know, they're gonna wanna use it for Allyn Days Gooey Duck Fest, but we can use it the rest of the year, and you know, I know that there's local musicians who wanna play, and there will be other venues for them, and
Maybe we should talk to the chamber about stuff like that. You know, I know the Port Orchard Chamber sponsors stuff in the summertime.
Rock the Dock.
Yeah, every Thursday, there's music at the gazebo there on the waterfront.
yeah.
So, to see if our chamber would be interested in doing something like that.
And
That's a good idea.
in a dual purpose, I mean, maybe we have the, you know, where the way we set up the weddings now, it's just on the grass, but maybe now we set up a wedding on that structure, and then the reception happens in the bigger gazebo, and Paulsville has, they call it the pavilion, but it's basically a gazebo, and they do music there, and they have permanent outdoor seating around it, so it's benches, and it's got electricity to it.
Yeah, one Port Orchard is the
Yeah.
same way.
So we'll talk about business and industry. Environment. Any other comment from anybody else?
Not right now.
I don't think so.
I
Not
wanna
until we
hear-
hear from the public.
Yeah.
We'll
With
come
you.
back to that on, under new business. So, back under old business. Potential management agreement with another agency. We want to seek public input on such an agreement with a possible decision to pursue the next step in creating such an agreement.
Okay, Commissioner Scott tabled this. She has to be the one to take it off the table.
Okay, well, we'll take it off. I move that we take it off.
One sec.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll move it on to today's agenda.
Okay. All right, well, I was working on this right up until after 5 o'clock. If you notice what time I sent you guys the email with this. A couple of weeks ago, we were approached via email by one of the Port of Duwato commissioners asking for a meeting to exchange information about small ports working together while still remaining autonomous. We took this to mean discussing the possibility of us managing their day-to-day business operations. There is an established precedent for this. Port of Gowacco manages the Port of Chinook, and closer to home, Port of Brownsville does it to a lesser extent for the Port of Keyport. These management agreements have been very successful for both sets of ports, and as you know, the Port of Gowacco won the WPPA 2016 Innovation Award for pioneering the management agreement concept with the Port of Chinook. So Commissioner Cooper, Leanne, and myself met with Duwato Commissioner Ted Edwards on November 29th and discussed what they needed as well as the general parameters of what a management agreement might look like. I've also since chatted with their commission chair, Ray Moe. Since the two of them can't legally talk without it being a public meeting, I made Commissioner Moe aware that Commissioner Edwards had approached us. He said that if you all elected to move forward and make a management proposal to the Port of Duwato, he would be open to exploring such an arrangement. Now, considering all the past mergers, or merger rumors, before anyone goes off the deep end about this, about being some backroom conspiracy for us to merge with Duwato, I want to state very clearly and unequivocally on camera for the record, this is not what that meeting was about, nor is anyone on either side suggesting merging would be a good idea. It isn't. Merging makes absolutely no financial sense for us or for Duwato, and I want to be sure that we nip any and all speculation in the bud right here, right now, about that. Now or in the future. Merging is a bad idea for both ports. With that said, a management agreement could be a win-win situation. Commissioner Cooper asked me to put this on the agenda for discussion as he wants the board to evaluate whether we want to take the next step forward and pursue the possibility of entering into a management agreement, as well as discuss what the pitfalls might be. If you all decide to pursue this, it goes without saying, we'll want the entire process to be as transparent as possible, and should include a public meeting in Duato so their citizens can weigh in on it and get the questions they will undoubtedly have answered as well. I've done some preliminary research and analysis of the numbers based on Duato's 2018 budget. In my view, the management agreement does make a certain amount of sense and represents a financial win for both ports. Duato would get more timely, accurate, and detailed financial information, plus a cash management system with more accountability than it's experienced for a number of years at a significantly lower cost than it's been paying. Depending on how a final arrangement is structured, it could also include routine maintenance of its facilities. Since our port would essentially be an independent contractor, except for the commissioners, Duato will eliminate all its payroll expenses for an executive director. This means no state retirement, L&I, Social Security, Medicare, or 941 tax costs. Based on the $40,000 a year budgeted for an executive director and for income tax purposes, declaring as married with one dependent, in 2007 those costs should have been approximately $8,400 over and above the executive director's $40,000 salary.
That was 2017.
If an executive director were to declare as single, those costs would be even more. There's also savings for them on mileage, travel, and in several other areas. What we get is a new revenue stream for doing the exact same things we do here and already have systems, practices, policies, and procedures in place for. Switch to the bias accounting software is going to free up productive time for us to do this. And while there will be no commingling of funds, try to say that quickly, we can easily track Duato's finances using separate standalone bookkeeping system, just as we do for each of our other business operations. Just like Ilwaco and Chinook, both ports will continue to operate autonomously. Duato commissioners will make all the decisions for their port, just as they do now. Our staff will implement those decisions and provide suggestions about more efficient management and new revenue streams. But it's 100% up to the Port of Duato commissioners to accept or reject those suggestions. I believe this could work pretty smoothly once we got all the kinks worked out of it. The main questions I see would revolve around staffing the building, security, and dealing with the park when it's open. There's also the question of how much time needs to be spent cleaning up the messes that exist there in terms of IT issues, reworking the budget so it's accurate, cleaning out all the file cabinets to determine what records to send to the state archivist and what to keep in the office. That said, if we can implement electronic public record systems we're working on here, scanning those documents, saving and cataloging them, make that operation fairly simple to manage. So that's my observation and my analysis of the situation. So, question?
So we would have no role in any of the operations at the Port of Duato, but you'd be our employee.
Yeah.
You'd be the Port of Allyn's employee, but
Yeah. Port of Allyn would basically be a contractor of the Port of Duato.
but anything that they wanted to do, you would just implement.
Yeah.
We would have no say-so in it.
No. we
You know,
wouldn't.
I'll give them my opinion just like I
Sure.
do you guys.
Right.
I mean, I would essentially become their executive director and Leanne would become essentially their operations manager, just like she is here.
So what would it cost them, or, I mean, because, you know, I know what you had to go through here, and it probably wasn't in quite as bad shape as Duato.
No.
So it will take some time.
I think what we need to do is get in here and look and see what the situation is before we can really say,
Mm-hmm.
you know, this is
Yeah,
the
if they
bottom
want
line
that
here.
done, right.
So they want a proposal, a management agreement proposal.
Well, when we talked to Ted, he said they'd be open to that. Ramos said they would be open to it. They didn't say, yeah, we want one. They said, but if you want to give us one, we'll look at it.
Because I just wonder, I mean, their executive director quit last month. They don't have an executive director for this month. The commissioners are trying to fill that role. I don't know how successfully. I mean, I'm not
I don't know
there,
either.
so-
They only have 2 commissioners right now,
Yeah,
too, so
I-
it's got to be very difficult.
You know, I can't speak to any of that
Yeah.
because I haven't,
I mean, I don't want to rush into anything, so I'm just thinking maybe we look at helping them out in the interim, or?
well, we've offered to help. Said, you know, anything that we can help you with, we will. And
But that would have to be in some form of a formal agreement for.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you need from us? I mean, at
From
this
you
point, yeah,
guys, what I need from you guys is you either want to move forward with this or you don't. You know,
So
if you don't want
we're-
to move forward with it, it's over.
Or-
If you do want to take the next step, I can meet with their commissioners and,
So you would go to their public meeting and speak to them and,
yeah. I'd have to draft up a proposal and I'd want you guys to look at that first and see what you thought. And then say, you know, here's where it is, and then I'm sure there'd be some negotiations.
okay.
One thing I think, you know, if the Port of Duatos wants it, to me, it would be like, it would be a really good thing right now, but it doesn't have to be forever, until they can get back on their feet,
Yeah,
That's what I
get
was
back into
thinking,
fiscal
too.
strength again, and then find a good, you know, director or a manager, and then go from there. I
the
think
problem
this would-
is for what they pay, they're not gonna really get a top quality manager. And that is what I see as the biggest
But
issue they're
it's-
gonna have.
It might be like the chicken and the egg, though, because they weren't on top of it necessarily in managing it, you know, because Chris was there for decades, and it was just by hand, and so they weren't able to get the kind of funds to take care of things, so,
And do they need a full-time director?
yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, my observation is they don't. But somebody needs to, you know, I think the community, I've watched some of the videos of their meetings, and what I'm getting is, my sense of it is the community wants that building open on some kind of regular schedule.
Sure.
And we can't staff that. We don't have the resources to do that. So, you know, that's an issue that they'll have to
Well, I guess.
address.
So you want us to direct you to go to their public meeting and they can advertise and you'll draft a
Well-
proposal to bring them?
You know, first thing, I'd like to meet with their commissioners and see if they want a proposal. I mean, if they don't want one, you know, you heard Ted, yeah, we'd like to do something, we need to do
Yeah,
something,
well,
we just don't
they're
know
in a
what.
bit of a pinch right now, so.
And, you know,
I feel it's the right thing to do to try to help them out if they want our help, if the community wants our help,
yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, is if
you know,
it's not,
we offered to
if
do.
it's not welcome, then we
then,
walk away.
yeah. You know, we offered to help them when they got that audit back and said, you know, can we do something to help you square this stuff away? And, you know, we didn't really get a response. You know, thanks for the offer. That was it. So, you know, if they don't want our help, they don't want it.
Yeah.
I mean, and
Yeah.
that's just that.
What do you think?
Well, I think we should offer officially, you know, just at least to reach out.
Okay.
Because if we tell you not to, then, you know, they have at least the choice to say no.
Yeah,
I think if you don't try, you're not being a good neighbor.
Yeah, I would
So-
agree,
Yeah, you know.
If we can help them without hurting us.
yeah.
right, yeah, that's my concern is, you can't spend 40 hours a week here and 40 hours a week there, so,
No.
yeah,
No.
what's it gonna take, and maybe get an idea, and when is their meeting?
Tonight.
Tonight.
Is that their normal meeting?
Yeah.
Oh, special, when's their normal
Is it the second?
Yeah. I don't know when.
third Wednesday?
Third Wednesday?
So you'll
Oh, it's the
try to
third,
get on
yeah.
their agenda for the third Wednesday?
I'll see if I can, yeah. But, you know, if you guys don't want to move forward with this, then you don't, and that's the end of it. But if you want me to take the next step with them, I will.
Well, I think you should, and if you need a motion, I will. It just,
I mean, this isn't something we would have done if they hadn't approached us, and I want to make that real clear to everyone.
I think we should offer.
So we need that in a form of a motion? Or is it just
It probably
direction?
would.
To direct
Probably
them.
wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. It's up to the chair, you know.
Well, we
I think
have
we should,
public
'cause we
comment
have.
as number 4, and it's, people have been concerned that I've gone out of order before, so I'd rather not go out of order.
Excuse me, sir, but it's listed right, seeking public comment on the agreement. In item
On B.
Oh, yeah, correct. So yes, let's take some public comment on this then. Thanks for pointing that out. If you could step up to the mic, please.
Thank you, Ken Van Buskirk. I tried to find out what this meeting was about the last several days and asked what agency it was and never got a response. And I'm curious why this wasn't mentioned in the executive director's report at the last meeting that you had folks had met with the Port of Duado. I don't think it's a good idea at this time. I think it's appropriate to wait until Mr. Jackson comes on. They are placing a new commissioner this evening, I think, over there at Port of Duado. It hasn't been very transparent so far, and the Port of Duado has a lot of findings against it, and there's potential litigation that they're going to be involved with. So I'd urge the Port of Allyn to stay back from it for a while.
Do you know what the litigation is?
Yeah, I'm not at liberty to really talk about it.
Is it public records litigation or is?
I'm not certain. There's some issues. So there's, I don't want our port to get mired down in their business. So, thank you.
Thanks for your input. Yeah, come on up.
My name is Earl Iddings. Hi, guys. And I just want to reiterate the mess of Duado, and I also want to go back for the 2 decades of the commissioners that also helped create this mess, including Ted Edwards and his wife Penny Edwards, who have been the commissioners for quite a few years. This mess should have been handled years ago. Should have been policies and procedures set in place to make sure that there was a checks and balance, that there isn't missing funds or no bookkeeping records. You have the commissioner picking up the money from the campground of only like 30 or 40 spots and depositing it himself for decades. So you never know exactly what's taking place down there. So my advice right now moving forward is that listening to your executive director talking about coming in for a possibility of $40,000 a year, that's unrealistic. The campground's closed now for 6 months of the year. So there's only 6 months of the year that it's going to be open. It doesn't take a $40,000 a year professional to actually be managing a little port. And the additional thing that we have here is that the residents in Duado live in Duado to get away from tourism, to get away from the public. They live there, they own their land, they want to preserve Duado. So Duado's comprehensive plan, when it actually comes up to the table, the residents that have already voiced about a 45 or 50 people showing, which is the largest meeting I've ever seen of residents, even for larger ports, they want conservation, they want preservation, they want to have their environment for their neighbors, for the Port of Allyn to enjoy, for the Port of Duado to enjoy, for the Tahuya residents to enjoy, for the public to come and enjoy. But they do not want more marinas, more campgrounds, or any development. And so the problem I have with the Port of Allyn moving forward with a business director is specifically what he stated earlier, of other means of revenue. There really isn't a revenue base in Duado. In fact, if the Port of Duado can't manage itself, I don't even know if it should be a port.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Matt, did you have anything? Okay.
Could I respond to Earl?
Sure, yeah.
A couple things I think you have a misconception about. We're not going to go in there and do anything that the commissioners don't want. You know, it's not our job to go in there and say, here's what you should be doing. That's up to them. So I want to be sure that you understood that. And we didn't say that it should be, they should pay us $40,000. What we did was say, here's what they're paying, here's how much they would save just by not having to deal with that. So, that's where that number came
And
from.
I think that before you have an actual discussion of working with the Port of Duato, you should wait to actually have your new commissioner, and the Port of Duato should have their new commissioner. Because the existing commissioner you're dealing with is part of the reason why we're having the problems today.
And the whole thing here was they came to us and it was, should we move forward and on what time schedule? We believe our new commissioner should have input. And I met with him yesterday and talked to him and told him we had been approached about this and what are your thoughts? And his thoughts were pretty much the same as Judy and Scott, If they want us to do it, let's, make a proposal. If they don't. So that's it. I mean, this isn't like something that we feel we have to do or want to do, and it's not a case of us trying to take over that port. That doesn't make any sense for us financially. It doesn't make any sense for them.
Earl, I have a
All
question.
we're trying to do is help here.
I have a question, Earl. Do you think that if we did just reach out to them, because in my mind, we're just reaching out for help, do you think that they, particularly one of the commissioners, would jump on it and that's what he wants and my way or the highway? Is that what you're concerned about?
No, I'm just concerned that the actual citizens in the Port of Duato are not in favorable of working with a pro-development port. Now, I understand you just changed it to pro-tourism. They're not pro-tourism either. So I don't think the actual relationship is a good blend. I think you have a port commissioner that's a good visionary but a terrible follow-through, and he's looking for help for his vision, but he's in disconnect with the actual citizens that live out there. So I don't know, and a lot of people don't really care to get involved because they live out there to be away from people. They're introverts. So you could be stirring up a large, mean environment that's been silent for very many years. And so I'd be cautioning about any development plan or working with them. They need to find a good accountant that can come in and clean up their books, and then they can just hire that accountant on a weekly basis, and it's $10,000 or $15,000 a year. There doesn't need to be development plans. There doesn't need to be additional income revenue streams. I mean, I don't really see the Port of Duato at all, and I know for our district specifically, who has been the brunt of all the development in the Port of Duato, our district has the port building, it has the access to the beach, it has the campground. The other two districts don't have anything, and the direction is going to be to shift it to those people, and when they see the growth moving into their neighborhood for the campgrounds, the RVs, whatever they may want, it's going to additionally, change is going to happen, but they want to preserve it. It's kind of the end of the road. I mean, like I said the last meeting, it's not the end of the United States, but it is the end of the road unless you want to drive all the way around to the Olympics. But
Yeah.
it needs to be handled with sensitive gloves. I'm not pro-Allyn by any means, and I really like Mr. Coppola. I think he has a great sense of direction. He's had great communication. I just don't trust the Port of Duato existing commissioners that created this mess, and those are the ones that you're dealing with. So transparency would have been nice earlier on, and it's been broken from day one over the last 2 years. Actually, for probably the last 30 years. There's a lot of uncertainties. So just look at our audit.
Well, let me say two things. We had intended to discuss this at our meeting 2 weeks earlier, but because Scott was out of town, we did not. And that's the only reason we did not. So,
But our commissioner, who I'm getting texts from right now from citizens at the Duato meeting, had to be asked if he had this discussion. He wasn't transparent again, and this is the revolving door.
okay, well, that's, we don't know anything about that.
But that's the issue.
And the only other thing I want to say is the direction of our port, that we want to take our port,
It's not
has nothing to do with the direction
with Duato.
the Port of Duato commissioners want to take theirs. Our role, as we see it, would just be to implement policies and procedures and stuff that work.
I'm a of both courts.
You're a neighbor.
Yeah.
So I do care about, and I'll have some public comment on one of your items
Sure.
there later, but I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Earl.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Send Ted down here.
So after hearing public comment, do we still want Larry to go up to the public meeting? Their next public meeting?
I think you should still ask, even though it may be bad timing. Just, I mean, again, one of them came to you.
That's it, you know.
See if there's anything we can do to help them out.
We can always say no too, you know. I just
Yeah,
want
there's
to
that.
be neighborly, you know. If they asked, I just want
Extending an
to,
olive branch.
I mean, it has to work for both boards
Yeah.
for it to work.
you know, and
And
again.
if it doesn't work
Earl,
for us, there's no point in going any further.
Yeah,
In all fairness, if it probably came from our new director or another commissioner, it'd probably have more transparency, more warm feeling, and probably be more receptive as well. I'm not against it as well. I think the court needs help, but I don't like the way it was approached.
Do you have a new director, or do you mean the one that just resigned?
Mr.
Oh, the new commissioner. I
commissioner.
gotcha. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
We've had 2 new port commissioners this year and a retired director that was not even on for a year, so it's a mess.
yeah. Did you get a new commissioner other than Ray Moe? Is there a new one
They're
now?
appointing one tonight.
Do you know who it is? Yeah.
There's only 2 individuals. I don't know who, I'm not there. They're doing it now.
Gotcha. Oh, thank you. Thanks.
All right,
Okay.
so if we want Larry to go to the next public meeting at the Port of Dewatto, we'll take that in a form of a motion.
Gosh, I almost hesitate to, but I think we should. Well, I move that we instruct Larry to reach out to Dewatto in regard to a management.
Second.
A motion on the floor with a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving on to old business, item C. Here a report from Pat McCullough on the proposed trail plan. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Pat, for
Sure.
coming.
I mean,
Yeah, probably up to the
Yeah,
podium.
Do it on the microphone and camera.
memory set, okay? I just about burned up all the cartridge in my color.
Give me a call, I would have printed it for you.
So, better read it.
Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot.
You should have just called, I would have printed them for you.
I'm Pat McCullough here to speak on trail concept for, which everybody thinks, and I like the name too, the Hood Canal Discovery Trail. But the trail would run, the ultimate trail would run from Belfair State Park all the way to Allyn. The idea has been in discussions for years around here. And I was the restoration engineer on the Plingle project, the Belfair State project, Park project, the Beards Cove project, and the Union River project. So I have a fair amount of knowledge about the area. Gorgeous area. Turns out it's a perfect 5K from Theller. I've already told you this, but it's a perfect 5K from Theller to the park. If you run on a 10K, you turn around and go back. The proposal, as like I told you before, to get the state involved, we need a 10-foot wide paved trail. I've talked to the local state people a little bit, and Mindy is from the Pacific Northwest Salmon, Mindy Harlow from the Pacific Northwest Salmon Center is attempting to get the projects on the county comprehensive plan. As I said earlier, we're looking for a public sponsor, and we have to have a public agency sponsor the project. The economic benefit to the community is considerable, I think. The everybody I've talked to about the projects really gets excited about the whole idea of being able to get from Belfair State Park to Theller without getting killed on the road. I couldn't, when I moved out here, the traffic on Belfair High on the SR 300 was about 2,000 or 3,000 cars a day. Now I think it must be well over 5 grand a day. It's just crazy. But at any rate, we slowed down a bit because you have a new commissioner coming on. And secondly, I've been busy, and I can tell you from my perspective, and I've done hundreds of projects, this project's going to happen. Now, what I would like to see is I'd like to see the Port of Allyn involved. I do have a different idea for you if you're interested. The county is interested in the project. They're completing a transportation study in the Belfair area, and their people and I people have been talking, and they're really excited about the project. And I think it's going to be on their list, so to speak. I thought that it would be an ideal project for the Port of Allyn because, and that's why I came to you first, because it's everything you do. And it's, you know, just seems to me to be a really ideal project. But I need to know if you're interested. If you're not interested, hey, it's like I told my son when he went with his wife for 2 years, you know, put the poor girl out of her misery. Either get rid of her or marry her. Well, both of them got married. Unfortunately, one of them got divorced. That didn't work too good. So what I'm here tonight is I do have a proposal for you. Apparently, the Hood Canal Salmon Hance Group, or Pacific Northwest Salmon Center, is willing to take on the task of doing the grant applications. They're willing to essentially take care of the project throughout as a component of the port, if the port is interested in that kind of a relationship.
Are you talking about maintenance of it? Or
No, well, at this
writing
point,
up?
we haven't talked about
Yeah,
maintenance,
okay.
so. But I'm talking about getting the grants, getting the money, building it, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And they have a lot of experience doing this. I'm not here saying I'm going to be the engineer. That has to go through a process. What I have been doing is, up to this date, I've donated about $24,000 of my time in terms of the preliminary engineering of the project at the request of Brian Peterson and several other people. And I intend to, Krieger and I are working on phase 2, which is the Belfair section. And ultimately, we're going to put together some preliminary engineering all the way to Allyn. I want to see this project happen. I think we're probably looking at a total project cost for the whole thing of somewhere around $10 million. Back when I was young, that was a lot of money. These days, it's not that much. So I guess what I'd like to do is find out if the port is interested to be the primary sponsor of the project. That is, you know, you, Larry, and I work together or whatever to get this thing funded and get it going. Or maybe put together a deal with the Pacific Northwest Salmon Center and partner up with them, with you being the public face. Either of those options. If you're not interested in either of those options, then Randy Netherland and I are going to sit down and have a discussion, see what we can do. If Randy Netherland's not interested, then we'll go to state parks, and so on and so forth. The state parks have really excited about the idea of being able to connect Belfair State Park to Theller. Joel Pillar has, you know, written me an email saying they really like the concept. But we have a long way to go. Right now, this is just a vision. The vision is going to change a lot as we move along. The Department of Fish and Wildlife has a wilderness lands program for trails in their property. We would have to go through that process. We got a lot of stuff to do. My involvement in the project, if you had to pay for it at this point, would be considerable. but this is a goal now, and I've done hundreds of projects, but to me, this is, ever since I finished the new bridge on the Olympic Discovery Trail across the Dungeness, and saw how that trail down there coalesced the entire community. And now when I go down and visit the project, for example, they just put Christmas lights on it and everything. It just, you can't believe how I didn't to realize how much something like this brings a community together and provides, we have no place for people to go. They go down to Theller, they can exercise, but we need more of that type of facility in the area.
My biggest thing is to have an ability to get down Highway 300 without getting killed.
Get killed. You've got exactly 2 feet on each side.
Exactly.
And that's if they don't trim the grass.
Two very large neighborhoods
Yeah.
that can be served by a trail system into town. And
Yeah.
how
Yeah,
long
well-
did the Discovery, the Swim Discovery Trail take?
Pardon?
How long did it take to complete that from start to finish?
Oh, that was quite a marvelous experience. Glad you asked that question. I'd been working with the Jamestown Sklallam Tribe for 2 years, putting together fixes, okay? All of a sudden, the big cotton trees that were protecting the structure were washed out, and we knew that the whole structure was going to go. And sure enough, the structure went. And it went in February. We started, I put together a 100% funding package for them. They went through a consultant selection process and selected myself and OTAC to do the actual project. We started that project in the middle of May, and we were done with the construction by the middle of December. When somebody wants a project, I've been doing this long, when a community really wants a project, you can really move quickly. And the people down there in Squim, I'll tell you, to have that bridge out, it's a 750-foot bridge. To have that structure
Excuse me.
not there, and to have to go down to the highway and go around was a great discomfort. And we had a big ceremony out there with the cedar smoke, and it was really cool. That was one of the most exciting projects I've ever worked on. And I did, for example, Tremont. That was one of my projects, and we put in Port Orchard,
Oh, yeah.
Tremont Street, the bridge and all that. Wogaway. I've done a lot of big projects, but that was really fun.
Nice.
And when we were in there in 1st of August, we had thousands of pink salmon in the river. And we had 3 days to get the piling out of the river, or we'd have to wait a whole year.
Right.
And anyway, I won't tell you the whole story, but it was really a lot of fun. But whenever I go down there now to the project, and we have art in the project, Indian art and all kinds of stuff, it's just so incredible how much people coalesce around that nature center there in Squim. And of course, we have a lot more than 15 inches of rain here, but I'm convinced if we can put this trail together, I mean, imagine going all the way off highway from Belfair State Park, or past Belfair State Park, because you go down to Effendall actually, from there all the way to Theller, off highway. It'd be just fantastic. That's
Like
all I
it
have
would
to
be
say.
a tourism draw.
Well, and even support our community, what's there, and help the community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lynch Cove, Beards Cove,
Yeah, that's my
Sandhill,
concern.
well, and I think
Gladwin Beach.
Larry's idea of an athletic center is incredibly cool. They have one of my family lives over in Pasco, right next to, what do they call it, 600 or some, that athletic center over there.
The 600.
Yeah, when they started living there was nothing there but some houses. Now the place is a virtual city. The athletic center, there's 3 large hotels or 4 large hotels.
It's pretty cool. Bryce played soccer over there once. Pretty cool.
They come from all over the Pacific Northwest to come there, to play their regional sports games and all that stuff. It's really, really cool.
Well, and part of ours is to have jobs too, and keep people here.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So if we were to become the sponsor, I see us knowing our financial situation, being the sponsor in name only. Is that a sign-up? No. Does
You're
that
right, we
work,
don't have
or,
money.
you know, are we expected to make a big financial commitment?
We have to apply through the port. Wendy's willing to do the grant applications pro bono.
Okay.
Join my team. And don't tell my clients about this. So anyway, she's willing to join the team to prepare the grant applications. Realize, of course, that there's all kinds, I work for all kinds of nonprofits. And the way most of them fund their organizations is they do projects like this. And they take a cut. That's just the way it works.
Well, yeah, to support.
And now, the problem, what we don't know, of course, is if we can get 100% funding. Several of the projects I've done in the last several years have been 100% funded. I just finished Spirits Cove, that was 100% funded.
The restoration of the community park there?
Yeah. Well, we included that as part of the project.
Okay.
I don't know any of that yet. That's just part of the deal. When I was working with Patty on the senior center funding. You know, we had 2 great big dinners over at the inn when Cock, what's his name, Frank? Cock or whatever. Anyway, he was head of the Ways and Means for the house.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Chop.
That's it. Yeah, he was there twice and came up with $1.7 million. I don't know how the funding's going to come together, but I know that we do need a public sponsor, and we do need to get going. And the other thing we need, really need, is enthusiasm about the vision. That's the biggest thing. Like I told Patty for years when I was working with her, I said, "You're the keeper of the vision. You know, you got the vision." And I said, if you lose that vision, that project's not going to come together. Well, it did. It was a beautiful project, wonderful thing.
Yeah, great job.
And that's when we did the Port Orchard bypass. The mayor of Port Orchard, Paul
Towers.
Yeah, Paul Towers. And Bill Mahan kept the vision. Who was the guy who used to own a tire store downtown? Dave Libby? Dave Libby used to be a swing vote. Well, the project got canceled 3 times because Dave had a bad dinner or something. I don't know what. But we can you imagine what downtown Port Orchard would look like right now if they didn't have the Port Orchard bypass? It's the fact it's got back to that point again. But at any rate, so we need enthusiasm from the port. If they're going to be involved, this can be a fun thing, but you got to be in it with us. You know, that's the thing. And I know people have said, well, why don't you go to the county? Well, county's fantastic. I love the county. The county's got a lot of stuff going on. And I really do. They have a ton of stuff going on all over the county. And I know Randy is fantastic, and he's really enthusiastic, but the people that he will have working on this project have a lot of things going on. We went out and got funding for the Belfair water quality study downtown, the drainage study. Well, that was 5 years ago, and still nothing has come out of that process. So I don't know. My gut tells me that the county would be fine, but I think the port would be a better sponsor, so that's my pitch.
Thank you, Pat. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming down.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to move on to new business. Resolution number 391 concerning paid sick leave and overtime policies.
One final
Sure.
thing I'd like to say is, I don't know when you're going to make your decision what you're going to do, but I'd appreciate it if you
Soon,
make it pretty soon.
Sure.
before the, I don't know if we can before the end of the year. We're going to meet another time.
That's up to you guys.
Okay.
Well, you don't have to have a special meeting. I just,
No.
we need grant applications.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that's
For
true.
the RTPO and
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. Probably need to be in by March. We
Yes.
need to- First thing we need to do is go to economic development, probably get some startup money, whatever, but we got a process to go through, so we do this. Okay?
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
You
Moving
have-
on to new business, we have resolution 391. This was in our packet. I read it. It's,
You want to read it?
I will read it.
Want to give this to Ted, or?
Sure, thank you.
Be it resolved by
Thank
the
you, Pat.
Commissioners of the Port of Allyn as follows. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of the Port of Allyn have met and considered the proposed updates to its payroll policies. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners, after duly considering all relevant evidence and testimony presented, hereby resolves to adopt the following payroll policies and procedures as required by both state and federal law. Beginning on January 1st, 2018, all port employees will accrue paid sick leave at a minimum rate of 1 hour for every 40 hours worked. This includes all part-time and seasonal workers. Paid sick leave will be paid to the employees at their normal hourly compensation. Employees who work on recognized holidays will be paid at the rate of 1.5 times their normally hourly compensation. Adopted this 13th day of December 2017.
I move that we accept Resolution 391.
A motion on the floor to accept resolution number 391.
I'll second that.
Have a second to the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Those are federal policies,
Yeah.
and the wording came right out of the federal
Yeah.
directives, so.
Set date for January meeting. I do not have my calendar, and
January 1 is the first Monday.
I do not
Can we
want
do it the
to
3rd?
commit my
gotta give this to
double
Del.
book. Sorry, Del. Let me go to the calendar here real quick. So January 1st is the holiday, and it is,
I would like to have it the 3rd.
I could do it the 2nd.
Well, I can do that too.
Could you?
Yeah,
That way,
of course, you better,
if we postpone a meeting, we can have it the following day. And
Yeah, I can do
it's
it the
still a regular
2nd.
meeting. Could you do the 2nd, Del? Tuesday the
he's not
3rd?
gonna be
Yeah,
there.
Oh, I'm
not
sorry.
there, though.
Oh, good, yeah. Well,
It'll be
then,
Ted.
if somebody can contact Ted, Larry,
Okay, I'll let them know.
Second.
Tuesday the 2nd of January. Actually, I have one thing on my calendar that day that is early. Possible policy adoption for accounts payable. Larry, this has to do with how the county is going to run their vouchers.
Yes.
and is that in our packet here? I didn't see what that is. Did you send that to me?
I didn't feel I should, but I've got it right here.
Did you get that?
I think I got the same packet you did.
Okay.
The resolution, the comprehensive scheme.
There we go.
So what does that mean?
So they will only be doing, we have to turn our vouchers in on the green dates, and
Oh,
only twice a month.
So it's twice a month, like, case in point, for the audience sake, it's January 5th, January 19th is when we have to submit, so it's the,
So green's the
So-
deadline?
I think it's 8 months of the year. It's not gonna work out where they're accepting vouchers before our meeting.
oh, okay,
But I think Larry came up with, we'll just do whatever we've got
okay,
at our meeting, and any that come in after, obviously, will be the next month.
okay,
The next
It's just gonna be a little different.
all right.
So do we have to adopt a policy on accounts payable? And is there a policy for us to look at?
No, it's
Who
just
is?
more, do you agree with doing them the way I suggested you know, when they're due, we pay whatever we got in hand to pay, and
Is there any other way to do it?
not really.
No, I don't think
That's
there
what most
is.
people do. They, whatever comes in after, they pay the next month.
Yeah.
Do we have any vendors that are gonna be upset because they're
call.
net 30 or, I mean, we don't have a lot of vendors, so.
No,
They work
we
with us.
don't.
Yeah.
I've never had anybody
Okay.
not, and we have impressed account if somebody needed something.
And the
right
reason
away.
that the county is doing this, because they're losing somebody in the
I think
office?
so, and they're closing the whole last week of December. Financial Services is closing, so I don't know if that's to
Like a
save money.
Furlough or,
Yeah, probably. They did it a few years ago when there were furloughs.
okay.
I just emailed Ted also.
Is there any, so no action on that? I mean, that, it is,
I think we had that on there before we realized, well, it's just gonna be what it is.
I mean, the
gonna be.
county,
Yeah.
the county doesn't really give us much choice there.
No, they don't.
Yeah, so I don't think we need to do anything about it right now.
Not really, as
Yeah.
long as you all agree
Yeah.
with paying the bills that way, then
Okay.
that's all that's really necessary.
So we'll move on to nominations of Port Commission Chair and Vice Chair.
I would like to elect Scott Cooper as chair.
I would actually prefer to not do it for the third or fourth year in a row.
but
I
you
would
were
ask
so
that you
good.
do it. And maybe I would reconsider next year, or Ted might be able to do it the following year, but I would,
Okay.
so I would nominate Commissioner Scott as the board chair for 2018.
Do we have a second on
I'll
either one of these?
Okay, I'll accept.
All right. And
Well, I nominate, oh, I guess we have to vote on that.
All those in favor for Commissioner Scott as board chair?
I,
I said aye.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Vice chair,
I nominate Scott Cooper.
I'll second that.
I have a nomination for myself to be the vice chair in 2018. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye. Motion carries. Now, we're going to do the public hearing on the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements. If anybody has input that they want to give on our comprehensive scheme, please come up to the podium. And we will be doing public comment
More, yeah.
as well, but this is the public hearing.
Let me get back to where it was.
So hold on, just 1 second. Do I have to close the meeting and go into the public hearing?
Yes.
So let's
Probably.
close the meeting
Yeah.
and we'll go into the public hearing. Okay, we're in the public hearing.
Okay, thank you. On Earl Iddings again, I was looking at your project improvements for the different Allyn properties, one being on North Shore Road. It said improve water, sewer, and other improvements. I was wondering what those other improvements may be, and if I could give a piece of advice as a neighbor. I'm really tired of the dust in that parking lot, so if it can please get some new gravel or even paved, it would be really nice. But that's just my personal fetish, because I have to wash my car about every day.
Can
So,
we bring the port truck by?
the
What
what?
time do you do that? Can we bring the port truck by?
The port truck. But
Wash.
Oh, to wash? Oh, I'll have them all parked on the side of the road at 5. But the other improvements, I was kind of wondering what may be going on there, since I live right next to it, and I'm probably the most impacted by that piece of property, because I'm the only resident that lives on one side of it full
The only
time.
thing that we've talked about is maybe we don't have enough parking and we'd look for something on the other side of the road for parking, but that's as far as we got. I don't think there's been any other discussion about improvements for the boat launch, but down at the dock, we've talked about doing some things down there.
Getting some more, there could be more parking. It's kind
Yeah,
of
we
tight.
just, yeah, it is tight. And then that parking lot across the street, as you know, is kind of hard to maneuver a trailer into there if there's multiple trailers in there. You gotta be a pretty spot-on backer.
It's really tight. Okay, well, thanks.
Yeah, is that fair, Larry? I can't think of anything
Yeah,
else.
we abandoned the idea of maybe doing an RV park there.
Yeah, wasn't enough.
And
And we
you
wanted
had a
that.
lot of input into that.
If it was flat and you had an acre of nice land and you get 10 or 12, but I don't think you can get 2 in there.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So,
And the only other thing we've done at the the dock, we cut down those danger trees.
Oh, good.
They came
Oh,
down on
good.
Monday.
Yeah, we've been talking about that for
Yeah, well,
a
those,
couple of years.
those came down on Monday.
And there's been some, you know, like an idea was to maybe put a locked gate on the pier, but it's a public dock, so it didn't get much traction, just for the 3 or 4 people that moor their boats out there that have been vandalized or ripped off.
So that's interesting. So the trees did come down, because I did put
Yeah.
a bid in that, and I never heard back on the bid results.
Yeah, they came down Monday.
What were the bid results, if you don't mind?
The what?
The bid results for the
Okay.
contract bids? Because I sent over a formal
Total
bid,
price was, I believe, $2,700.
and my bid of $2,300 didn't get looked at, or just
With
didn't
no
get?
tax, you didn't include tax.
And a 10%. So
Yeah,
with
you're-
tax, it would have been $2,600.
No, it would have been more than that.
No, 9% on 1,000 would be,
Well, then maybe I
$90
Maybe I need to look at them again because.
but it's okay, it's already
No,
down,
he
so.
he can definitely look it up and let you know.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Mine was $2,350 and 15%.
I'll scan them and send them to you.
It's okay, it's already down, but I didn't know.
No,
but-
we took what was the lowest bid. So I'll send you all 3.
Well, I know with tax and everything, my bid wouldn't have been over 2,700, and I gave a 15% credit for
I'm
the
saying
timber.
27 off the top of
Okay.
my head.
That's okay.
It might be less than that.
I thank you, though, for giving me an update on letting me know we didn't
Yeah.
get the job until now.
You could have called me. But I will send you those tomorrow.
I have them right on my desk, all of them put together, so.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you want to wait till the meeting's over, go upstairs, I'll show them to you.
Oh, actually, I haven't filed them, they're just sitting right there.
Thank you, Commissioners. At your last meeting, the Executive Director shared the letter that I sent on November 20th, and I hope you had a chance to read that complete letter. He didn't include all my comments, so I'd like to read it if I might.
Just for my clarification, are we talking about the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah.
I sent you all a copy of the letter.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to find it real quick.
Yeah, and he, Mr. Capola, publicly, it was on recording, read some of the things, but some of it didn't get captured. And at several of your last meetings, the Executive Director reported that the RCO and funding agencies are more likely to fund projects that have considerable public input and public hearings. And I wholeheartedly agree. You have 2 people from the public here this evening. We really need to hear more. And to that effect, I'd like to suggest that you survey your constituents. Perhaps with a newsletter. I think you're familiar with this one that just came out from the Regional Fire Authority. The school does the same thing. I think the port could put together their comprehensive scheme and send it out to your constituents and let them consider. Maybe they'll come to the public hearing or workshop, and many of my neighbors don't realize they live in the Port of Allyn's boundaries. I think, Judy, you mentioned that earlier on. It's still, some folks don't realize, and a lot of them didn't realize there was a special meeting this evening on this comprehensive scheme. So I think after Commissioner Jackson is sworn in, that if a survey is completed, then it'd be a more appropriate time to develop and publicly discuss the projects and the priorities. The project that Mr. McCullough talked to you about tonight, if the community accepts that, it should be on the comprehensive scheme. It shouldn't just be, maybe the community doesn't want it. When I read through the scheme both last month and this evening, I thought there might be a change in the project priorities. And I think that project number, the development of a first-class soccer, baseball combination sports complex, should rise in priority. And a survey would be one way to get your constituents' thoughts. I think it's a great idea, and I know it's supported. It was 2003 Belfair Sub-Area Plan, and many of the North Mason community, your constituents, support the concept too. I know there's several that have tried to entertain some discussions about it. So I think definitely be there, and it should rise to a higher level. I think projects like Sweetwater Park shouldn't be on there. The proposed trail system discussion that Mr. McCullough talked about this evening, at the last meeting, Mr. Coppola told you folks that in his executive director report that he hadn't heard anything about it. He's going to put it on the back burner. And then here it comes this evening. I just don't think it's a good idea to get with the trails. There's too many long-term obligations. I just heard yesterday that they're closing a portion of the Feller Trail where the bridge blew out again. They're going to shut it down.
Are they going to get it fixed?
I don't know, but there's a case of it's been an issue for a long time. It hasn't been maintained, and now it's going away again. I'd hate to see the port get mired into a big trail system and all the maintenance that goes along with it. A survey might be a really easy way to do it. I know you folks put together, those nice calendars for $400 or $500. I think a survey or a newsletter like this explaining the comprehensive scheme and the opportunity for the public to comment, a great thing. And it would be a way to gauge public acceptance of certain projects, whether they want a business industrial park or whether they'd rather be more towards trails. It shouldn't be just the three commissioners deciding for the whole port. They should listen to constituents or what they want to see. And I really look forward to many more meetings of the comprehensive scheme, and I hope that you can get more public to attend and weigh in. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to any discussion amongst us.
I don't think I have anything more right now. Let me look at this again and see.
The only thing that I just want to make sure that I'm clear that we don't have to adopt. We can wait till Ted. Yeah, and then adopt this. We don't have to adopt this before January 1st. It's
What, the?
comprehensive scheme.
No,
Yeah, so-
we just have to have it to RCO by March 1st.
So let's,
So we
yeah.
need more public hearings for
Yeah.
RCO.
Right.
So as long as it's been done
Advertised.
and approved, and you've got to leave some time for it.
Going to approve it at tonight's meeting.
No,
We want
no.
Ted to
No, we
weigh
need an
in. We'll
advertised
talk
public
about
No.
meeting.
a survey and.
I'd like to do an open house where, we've got some pictures and show and tell stuff, and, make sure that we publicize it so we get people here, so we can answer their questions. I mean, the hardest thing that going on is getting people to come here,
Right.
so.
Well, I do appreciate the idea about the survey. We haven't, Bonnie, and when Bonnie was in, we had a survey, we put out a survey on what businesses they would like to see and everything.
Yeah, I still have a
Came out with
copy of that
Burger King.
somewhere.
Yeah, right.
One thing everybody wanted was Burger King.
Yeah.
So I can't remember how much that cost. I know that we put out mailers ourselves and we counted stuff. We were hand counting stuff, so,
Yeah.
it's something that we could probably
You guys
do.
sat
The-
in front of
The problem I have,
Sanctuary.
I'm not sure how effective mailers are,
Mhm.
but,
Well, there's a thing
I
called,
think there was a time when they were real effective, but not so much anymore. It's more electronic.
well, there's,
But the
Survey
question
Monkey.
is, getting a comprehensive email list.
Yeah. Well, that's something that we haven't done in a long time. I always wanted to try to have a yearly newsletter.
I think it's something that we should develop and have anyway.
Yeah,
Because, we could send out regular notices of meetings,
yeah.
Yeah.
among other things, and
During
do
the
those kind of
meetings, or
surveys.
just- yeah.
Because, there's stuff like survey,
Yeah.
they do it all for you.
Yep.
And, we could use those kind of tools, but we gotta have a comprehensive email list first.
Well, is that something you could work on, maybe, or? Of course you can.
Well,
Yeah.
The editor.
what we know we can do is a
Yes, Madam
newsletter,
Chair.
because
Yeah.
it gets, the other people are doing newsletters, and you can buy the
Well,
list
what I had
from-
thought is maybe what I might do is talk to the chamber, maybe talk to the hub, and, everybody that's got
True, yeah.
email lists, already organized, if they'd be willing to share them, to where we could build one major list of everybody in the district, and then be willing to share it with everybody that's helped us.
Good idea, yeah, that's great.
Can we put that on our January meeting agenda to discuss a newsletter or survey?
Yeah, you bet.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, and then we gotta set a date for the open house.
Well, it should be January.
Oh, you wanna close the public hearing?
Oh,
we
So
can
no
reopen
other
the meeting?
discussion?
I
no
don't
other
have
public
anything more. Do you have
comment?
anything,
That's
Larry?
just for the comprehensive, or the
Yeah.
harbor scheme, right?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, we'll still have public comment at the end of the meeting. So I'm going to close the hearing, reopen the public meeting, move on to set a date for a public open house about the comprehensive scheme of harbor improvements. And I think that scheduling 2 days without my calendar is going to be rough. So
I'd like to do it in January.
could we schedule it at our January 2nd meeting?
Yeah, we could.
That's not going to give us much time to advertise it. I mean, can we
No,
schedule it?
We have to have the 10 and 20 day thing, so it can't be advertised more than 20 days, but not less than 10 days before whatever meeting you set.
For
So
the
we
open
have
house.
to have advertising
What
in
days
that
do you-
time frame.
What days do you usually have free, or do you? Oh, you're laughing.
Mondays are good, Tuesdays aren't,
Well, we can
How
have
about January 15th?
Fridays are not good.
That's a Monday.
January 15th. You want to at least tentatively schedule a day?
That gives us plenty of time to advertise.
So I would be,
Give you enough time to advertise?
no, let's go into can we go into the
Yeah.
following week? Well, that's,
Yeah,
Martin
You know,
Luther
and I don't
King.
know that you all three need to be here for that.
I can't get a legal notice in until the 21st.
I mean, I'd like to be here.
Okay.
We may not need to be here, but I'd like to be here.
That's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
is I'm gonna put together a point, and we can just run it continually against the
22nd?
wall
The
here.
8th might work. No, because I can do the 21st and the 28th.
Wednesday, the
We can't
17th.
go more than
is
10 days
okay.
after the 28th.
21st of
Or
January?
with Thursday, the
We don't need
11th.
some, we're not going to do one in December.
No.
I'm just trying to think all the
December,
time that,
The
I'm gonna
21st,
need.
their paper comes out.
Thursday, the 11th
I can't
looks
get it in
open.
tomorrow's, but I can do that one and that one.
To
so
come up with a
2
final
consecutive
draft,
weeks.
and then we gotta have a public hearing
And
about
if it's 10
it.
days after that,
Put all this work together to have
So
a
the
open
15th.
house, and how do we get people to
say
come?
the 8th might be perfect.
I can spam every Belfair group on Facebook over and over. I've been doing that with
The
the
chamber
gazebo
know, let the
and-
HUD know, let,
Yeah, and let them
Let the
put it
county
in
know.
their, let them put it in their newsletters. The chamber's real good about sharing our information.
I want to have enough time that, I don't want to just check a box, I want it to be
No,
people
and I do
coming.
too. I don't want to do all this work and not have everybody
Yeah.
show up.
We could post some flyers around too and stuff, like a QFC and.
So I'm just thinking if we made it in February.
Advertised 2 times.
That's kind of close for me for getting
We
everything
need to
done.
have some in January. We have to have some in January. to
Well, Monday the
fulfill.
22nd is wide open for me.
You can't do the 15th? Because aren't we required to have a certain
15th.
amount before, a certain
Yeah.
amount of public input?
Well, we've got to have 2 public hearings. That's all we're
The
bound to
15th is
have
a
by law.
holiday.
What I'm trying to do is
Martin Luther
accommodate
King
our
Day.
CO here.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to have the open house and, have some people show up besides Ken and Earl.
The 17th would work.
And Jeff.
And Jeff.
So is Martin Luther, that's the 15th, is that
That's a
an actual?
3-day weekend.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, is that
Okay.
Martin Luther
Yeah.
King Day?
Okay.
Yeah, I did schedule something that weekend, but
Okay.
I don't think people would come.
Well, we could, I'm pretty open. Now, the 23rd is Port Day at Olympia, so we don't want it that day.
Yeah, let me get that on here.
What's wrong with the 22nd?
I didn't realize that.
Nothing is wrong with the 22nd. We could do
Well,
Monday
and,
the
and
22nd.
we gotta figure out what Ted needs as well.
Yeah.
Ted's schedule is probably as difficult as mine, if not more so, because he's got to commute.
So tentatively.
Yeah, he told me he was going to try to be here, but today. or tonight.
22nd?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Earlier or still at 6?
It's got to be 6. for me,
6?
Yeah, plus people.
Will that be the open house?
Yeah.
Anything else on the public open house? I will now open the floor to public comment. Feel free.
Just a few items I wanted to address back to your potential management agreement with your agency, just and the Port of Duato. Dave Haugen was elected as the new commissioner, so I believe he's representing District 3, our district. I reside in there as well. One of the questions I had is I was a little confused as to you, Mr. Coppola, had actually met Ted and had to call Ray because the two of them discussing port business, it would have been a closed meeting, I guess. So Ted was, or a non-published meeting, what?
A public meeting, it would be an illegal public meeting if they met without notification.
And so Commissioner Edwards was acting as a commissioner, and that's why you couldn't have another one there. was
Correct.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. And I want
And
to,
I wanted to clarify the timeline with you too, just for, because I know you're concerned about the transparency issue. He contacted us on, I think it was the 27th, but I'd have to double check. We met on the 29th and we were going to discuss it at our meeting on the 4th. And then Scott had to go out of town, which is why we didn't. But it wasn't like there was this big long time lag where we were trying to hide. It was just, Scott.
She tabled it.
no, and I'll kind of get to what actually just transpired at the Port of Duato meeting as well. Now, again, this is coming from another person there, so it is not actual meeting minutes, but Commissioner Moe asked that the meeting minutes in Duato reflect that he had no idea there was a special meeting in Allyn asking for any discussions and a potential management agreement. At this point, he has no support for what is going on, and a phone call was not any direction or agreement to be made. Contradiction, the Port of Duato should have, with its citizens, actually passed the motions to outreach to the Port of Allyn for help, and not the Port of Allyn outreaching to help Duato. So at that point, right now, Raymo is extremely covering his meeting minutes in there. And Ted Edwards also acknowledged that he did his outreach as a citizen and not a commissioner, which is in contradiction to what you just said. So this transparency.
He was reaching out as a commissioner.
But this is the confusing, so just to close this chapter down, we want help, we need help, but there needs to be a better transparency, and any meeting moving forward should actually, I feel, stimulate from the Port of Duato commissioners, now that there's 3, to ask for the help. And then we do need help, but anyway, we'll see you on Wednesday of next month. And I'll also like to get a copy of the 3 bids, so.
Thank you, Earl.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Ken Van Buskirk, just wanted to follow up with what Mr. Iddings just said. I know the issue was tabled last month, but the public that was watching the meeting didn't know what it was that was tabled, just that it was an agreement with another agency. Apparently you folks all knew what it was, but the public didn't know what it was about. So just wanted to say that. I do have a little bit of experience with those grants, having gone to some of the grant hearings for RCO, and they do like to see a lot of public input. They're going to want to look at, you know, who attended the meeting and that sort of thing. So if you don't get the grant submitted by March, you really got to do doing public outreach. So lastly, I wanted to suggest that the commissioners might want to review and audit the port-owned equipment to assure that you're complying with that mobile device policy that you just adopted last year. Text messaging is highly discouraged, and it's to be used only in an emergency. There was some going on at the last meeting. It's inviting public records requests, and you know they're costly, and it's not an efficient use of taxpayer dollars. You kept the last meeting open for an extended time frame for an individual to arrive. The person never showed up. I came a couple minutes late to a meeting, a budget hearing, and wasn't allowed to testify even after you had been made aware that it was coming. It's really not, it's not very impartial and fair. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Anybody want the meeting, or I would entertain a motion for adjournment?
I do have to say about the text. We cannot text between the commissioners. That's what we've definitely decided on.
That's law.
That's law.
The policy was like conduct important business via
Correct.
text.
And with Mr. Peterson being on the agenda and expecting, he had an emergency. So that was the only way that really could efficiently communicate without making the phone call during the meeting. So,
Oh, that was text.
yes.
Oh. Unaware.
So,
Yeah, I texted him, and I got the text right here.
and it is
I
on
just said,
the port
are you
phone.
coming or not? You know.
So, I don't know, it's not like a life or death emergency, but it was a form of communication without a lot of disruption. So,
You don't have to explain it to me. I just know what your policy says, and I just...
I don't think you do understand what the policy says, because it doesn't address that. It says that the commissioners will not text between themselves and create a serial meeting, and it gives direction about how text is to be used.
Well, I just asked the commissioners to audit, please look at your policy, look at some of your employees' devices. Thank you.
okay.
Entertainment for adjournment?
Okay, so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye,
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
thank you.
Thanks, Earl.
Thank you.
Here, I made some.